all the panelists today that are there on the session have actually been, part of this apprenticeship journey. The theme is very clear. Whatever we do from the HR fraternity, it's more from the perspective of it has to translate into something. It has to translate into, reduced operating costs, optimization of wage bills, etc., etc. And that is the true culmination of whatever we'll do in HR. So for a change, what we'll do is, while we take on the session and go on to this interesting journey, we'll have the HR fraternity speak business language. So that's going to be a slight change that we'll do. And I thank most of the panelists because all of them have already embraced apprenticeship as way of working. Now it's going to be in terms of the apprentice, the organization. Most of the organizations have also embraced apprenticeships under the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme. And now, just to set the context in terms of what all we can do going ahead, because the apprenticeship in the degree space or in the higher education space has got its legitimacy in the new education policy. So what I used to tell earlier, to all my HR colleagues, what we cannot evaluate in a 12-minute cycle of an interview, through apprenticeship contracting, we have 12 months of OJT to evaluate. So that's the opportunity of selecting and betting on people who are going to be future transformation agents of the organization. Now, I would go to the next level to set the context. It's not about 12 months now. It's more about 36 months that we're looking at to actually transition a student apprentice into the supervisory cadre. And with that being one part of it, the other part, all of us, whether physical, phygital, or digital, we are omnipresent in multiple locations. And in multiple locations, while we are present, we also have the advantage of having 45,000 plus institutions across the length and breadth of our nation. So in all probability, wherever we are present in terms of a retail operative store, we also have an institute in the higher education space. So I'm leaving it open now in terms of how we would go about in seeing what kind of synergies would be useful in optimization of whatever we do and bring about business excellence and efficiencies. So throwing it up now to the entire panel is like, what if we have an opportunity of partnering with a higher education institute to actually source manpower and transition, students who are in the FY or first year of commerce, science, arts, etc., into any other stream. So embracing them and converting them into supervisory. So supervisory cadre. So what happens is we actually have people who would be students groomed for 36 months within the system and then transition into the supervisory cadre across various vacancies, across various locations in the country. So let's have a round in terms of, any one or two advantages that you see. Let's start with Sandeep.
Hi, James. Hi, everybody. Pleasure to be here. So, James, we discussed this earlier this week, and the proposition is immensely interesting. To have an apprentice for more than 12 months, learning the trade as he or she goes through the drills of graduation, and then to have him or her available for perhaps, as you rightly call it, a team leader job at the end of 36 months. It's a very interesting proposition. Obviously, a few things need to be worked out. For example, his or her availability during the first 36 months, right? Or you don't want the student to compromise on his learning at college, right? So you want him to or her to get the time to study, to prepare for exams. How will that work with your retail calendar? But beyond those basic concerns around how this will get operationalized, I think it's a wonderful idea. It is something that I'm very sure all of us will try in some way or the other. And depending on how quickly we can operationalize it, how quickly we can iron out the creases, we can take it ahead and make it a mainstay in our store hiring strategy.
Great to hear that. Great to hear that. Actually, just before we move on to Shobha, a very interesting conversation on the same lines happened with the principal of Bhavans College, which is at Andheri West. Most of the panelists would be knowing, and the audience. They had the same apprehension in the nascent stages of our discussion, and she said, "Where will the kids get time to actually focus on their, the academic sessions?" And because they were all conditioned by the erstwhile programs that actually ran. Now, since the apprenticeship embedded degree program, as it is termed as AEDP, is institutionalized through the new education policy, the good part of it is if there are 180 credits in the academic year that actually go for the system, in the yesteryears, when you would pursue something alongside, be it internship, etc., you would do your work, your OJT with the industry. Over and above that, you would actually have to earn your 180 credits of the academic system. The good part in this is when you are actually embraced by the industry under the apprenticeship embedded degree program, your OJT component, that is your work component with the industry, is in lieu of the credits that you would otherwise have to acquire through your theoretical examinations. So in the yesteryears, it would be 180 plus your OJT. Here it is 180 inclusive of your OJT. So actually, when the kid is on the shop floor, let's say of a Pantaloons, the kid is actually completing and acquiring credits which he or she would otherwise have acquired while being in the higher education institute. So we'll speak more about this in terms of how it actually reduces reduces the burden on the kid, and it's given the due credit to actually vocational skilling. So we'll speak about this. Over to you, Shobha. What do you feel would be the advantage of having this child to groom not for 12 months, for 36 months, and it could be in any location that you want?
Thank you so much, James, and a very warm welcome to all of us. All of you out there who's listening to us. I'm just going to use your situation. You started this particular session by saying that I think I'm a little upside down. And I would like to say that what we're going to be doing is going to turn things upside down. So very simply, I'm just connecting it and summarizing it in one line. Very, very confident I am about this, and I'm very, very optimistic about this. The reason being that we are talking so much about this in India, but if you look worldwide, having apprenticeship or being, combining your learning and your earning is very, very common in European countries and a lot of other countries. And I'm so glad that India is actually coming on to this. So even if I look at it, this entirely will change I would say, the future of the workforce. And the reason being because right here, what's going to happen is that, first of all, retail is not a kind of a job which many people aspire to get into. Pardon me for saying this, but a lot of people who come to us or join the shop floor almost about 80% of them are people who would have come to you because they did not get through either a traditional course that they were doing. They might have done some BBA, they might have done some MBA, but it didn't work out. It didn't, and they need a job, they need to get into sales and earn money. And that's the reason why they come in. Now, when we've done this kind of a partnership, I think, with academia, the real benefit of it is that I think that retail will again now become a very aspirational, profession for people to get into. Because parents, when they sent their child for the particular course that he or she is going to do, which is a BBA or whatever course it is, will also understand that at the end of the day, this person is going to be making a career in this. So I think it's a brilliant initiative in that way. Second, I think it will give you a continuous talent pool, which in retail today we struggle for. I mean, I head HR for the Hamleys stores, which are across India, and we've spoken multiple times, James. I thrive for this kind of a workforce. I thrive for people who could be with us, who could be maybe on a flexible basis with us, but who could first understand whether they really like retail or not, whether this is what they would like to do or not. So I think the 3 years that they are with you not only hones them, but also as raw students, lets them know whether this is the career they need to choose. So I really think it's a win-win, for both the student community as well as the professional community, that is all of us as organizations. Second, it's going to have a lot of impact, of course, going forward, in the workforce. I would say the mix itself, because for me, I don't call this as just apprenticeship. For me, it's flexi workforce. It's workforce that can be very, very flexible and adaptable to me as per the needs of my business. If I look at my store, I don't need people mostly till 4 o'clock. Maybe I need people from 4 to 9. I need people on weekends when people will come shopping into a Hamleys store. So for me, I'm very, very optimistic about it. I'm sure this industry will benefit greatly. And I'm sure this is the path for the future. There is no other way, rather than getting into this. So this is what I wanted to share.
Great. Very nice to hear that. In fact, it's like, almost having a platform that would enable selection of people and transitioning them into the supervisory cadre, whilst they completely align with the ethos and the business requirement of the organization. And the good part is it's a degree program. So inherent advantage of actually catching them young and growing them in stature on the education front as well as on their professional front. So in a parlance, actually, we're fast tracking the career growth of an aspiring candidate. In a parlance, we are actually triggering the GDP and the overall economy, because the person has a stipend from year one. Having a stipend from year one, the person has the purchasing power from that time onwards. Having the purchasing power, the person would be able to trigger consumption. And being able to trigger consumption would actually mean flourishing and more business. So great. Let's hear it from Alex. Alex, what do you have to say? You've been one of the persons who's actually benefited from a lot from apprenticeship, going beyond the statutory benefits to the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme benefits, and now this. Let's hear it from you.
Absolutely, James. Thanks, and good evening to everyone. So, as you rightly said, I feel that this 15% limit on the apprentices is actually too less, because we would want more, because we have utilized all of it. And if you actually look at, while the title of our session says wage bill optimization, I think the impact of this program is far more, than that. So, for example, if you allow me, look at the social impact that it has, right? As you rightly said, giving more money into the pockets of young people and advancing their earning age, right? If somebody was earlier earning by the time he was 21, right, or maybe 20, now he or she is able to earn by the time the person is 17, 18, because they are joining a graduate program. At the same time, you are advancing the earning and advancing the learning as well, because what is taught generally, especially the kind of universities or colleges that these kids used to go to, is more academic and theoretical in nature, right? So by the time you pass out of the third year, you might not have actually acquired a lot of practical, knowledge or applied skills. And that's the reason there were a lot of internships and projects and all that, but it had its own limitations. So this kind of, Shobha said, it's a flexi, model. It's a hybrid model where it's a win-win for the candidate or the apprentice. It's a win for the organization. It's a win for the society at large. So I have absolutely no doubt that the upper limit of 15% should be relaxed, so that I think we can reach out to more and more of organizations, because the kind of benefits that we have seen are humongous. When it comes to wage bill optimization, you look at when you look at your normal hiring process, the amount of effort it takes for talent acquisition or mobilization, the kind of job, the reference checks that you have to do, then you have to train them, and after that 50 to 60%, I'm being very conservative, will actually leave within the first 6 months. So there's a lot of effort that goes and a lot of money that is spent in these activities. But the significant benefit here for the organization is that you avoid these costs and you get people who come with a mindset of learning, right? In these 3 years, they're in a learning mode. So you can actually put them into different kind of environments and make them learn even when on the OJT. And the second thing is, because they are in a 3-year program, the kind of attrition that we see normally in a retail, in the front end, I'm 100% sure, it will come down, because these people will be learning academically, they'll be learning on the job, and they will be earning. So I don't see how it can be even better, than this. So as far as my thoughts go, I think this is absolutely well-tuned program. It only remains how well we can use it.
Great to hear that. And I think what you mentioned about the 15%, it's something wherein the retail fraternity has been leading in apprenticeship contracting since it's got opened up for the services sector. And with progressive leaders like all of you, I'm sure there will be a day, because if it's good for the country, it's good for the industry, it's good for the individual and good for the institute. I'm sure decision makers, policy makers would relook at this. And this has been a discussion point also, wherein I'm sure we'll see progressive decisions aligned with what you actually just expressed. Let's hear it from Siddharthan. Siddharthan is another person, very quiet but extremely supportive. And yes, of course, apprenticeships galore under NAPS, excellent, and also one of the pioneers in the degree apprenticeship that we're actually speaking about today. So over to you, Siddharthan. Please share your views. Siddharthan, you'll have to unmute yourself, please.
Sorry. Yeah. Hi. So once again, a very good evening to all of you all, and pleasure to be out on this panel with this esteemed guest out over here. So as you very rightly said, James, I guess Reliance has been one of the beneficiaries of this program. And I think way back in 2019, 18-19, when we actually first spoke of this, I think it was a dream come true. because it's always been an aspiration to get into a program like this. And many a times when I would approach a college, one of the key points that you spoke is that from a university point of view, what's the kind of hindrances that generally would come across in terms of their, the timings, the kind of not only from the time point of view, but also in terms of their curriculum to be covered, and also the time space that they have to do this kind of job if they have to do that. Yeah, so it was actually a dream come true for us to actually try this out. And as an example, I think Chitkara University is the first tie-up that we did it back then in time. And I guess it's been, it's a point of no return there afterwards. I think we've been just moving on. And from there, I think we've tied up with quite a few colleges across this various states. So when you look at it, I think the bigger benefits has been for all the three stakeholders, very rightfully as put up. Yeah, in terms of, how Shobha actually mentioned it over there. Okay, one is learn while you earn, or earn when you learn. Yeah, the other bit of it is also, it is not that it is you're joining the retail by choice, by force, but by choice. Okay, that's a very, very critical point actually she mentioned over there, because this gives a good amount of insight to a person, a candidate who actually wants to pick up retail as an opportunity. And this not only gives an opportunity for the candidate, but it also gives a good opportunity from an organizational point of view to see how this candidate actually performs. And over a period of time, are we able to have this candidate as a lineup for my managerial cadre, the talent pipeline? Okay, and because the whole idea for us as an organization is to take them and groom them into the frontline managers. So basically, we take them in the first year, they spend about 3 years with us, 3 days in the college, 3 days at work. Okay, and they move over ranks over a period of time. They move over grade over this period of 3 years time. Okay, and by the time they are actually finishing up the 3rd year, they are actually ready to take on the department manager's position. Yeah, and this gives us a beautiful opportunity to actually build up a wonderful talent pipeline, which for our major expansion opportunities that we have, okay, it actually builds up the entire pipeline for us. So with that in place, what also happens is, some few things that I actually want to share to the team, which would be actually thinking, is this a good opportunity? So when you talk to the candidates, they say that, if at all we would have wanted to have studied and worked, I would have studied till about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock every day. And then after 2 hours, I would have been actually going down to work. And that's another 4 hours. It really is so much. Okay. And really, I could not have done that. When you talk to the parents, okay, it's so much wonderful messages that we have actually got, where the parents have actually said, after having admitted them into the college, we have never looked back at their financial, because they are now self-independent at this point of time, because virtually their entire expenses are being met by the kind of stipend that we've been paying out of there. Yeah, so this itself actually brings about a wonderful opportunity for both the stakeholders, which is from the students' point of view, okay, as well as a futuristic employee point of view, as well as from an organization point of view. Yeah. So and as very rightly you said, it also gives them an independence. There is a good amount of disposable income that we are able to generate in that familyhood. We look at it from a family point of view, because otherwise it's going to be a dent in the pocket of the parent to actually help the kid to go through this 3 years time. Okay, now this is creating an independence to the student that he is able to stand on his own leg right from the day one. Okay, so while having said all this, but from an organizational point of view, what has actually helped us is that now this is actually forcing us to look much, much larger and much bigger. In fact, I think we've been really pushing it hard on Samir to actually help us to see in all the possible places wherever we are, especially in concentrated circles, yeah, where we are able to see how many more institutions we can tie up. I think we're right now tying up with a couple of institutes in Karnataka, so be it in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and so on and so forth. So we are actually looking forward for 15 to 18% of our frontline managers, the workforce, actually being introduced through this channel, so that for the next couple of years time, when our new store openings are going to be happening, we look at least 20% of the frontline managers actually emerging from this entire pipeline. So that's where we are looking forward to.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Siddharth. And in fact, if you go to see what you've spoken about, touches upon so many things in terms of, building the future pipeline. It talks about, at the same time, this integration, since you mentioned about, various colleges in Karnataka, in Andhra Pradesh, etc. If you actually go to see, we're making the resources of the nation aligned together for the benefit, again, how I would say, of the individual and the industry, and the conduit is the institute. So it makes a lot of sense, because I'm sure even if you have to close your eyes and visualize every store that you have across the length and breadth of the nation, within a 2 kilometer radius of that store, you will find an institute which is in the higher education space. And that brings about a lot of social goodness. No migration required for a person to get a job or become economically independent in the nascent stages of his or her career. Local person, for it's actually aligned with the national clarion call of being vocal for local. uh, yes, if a person moves out of the vicinity or comfort zone of their location, it is definitely for vertical progression, which is definitely a given where growth is concerned. uh, at the same time, you are looking at the institute actually being a qualitative mobilizing arm for the industry, which otherwise becomes a little difficult for us. And in the conversation with previous panelists, as well as what you mentioned, is in retail, one inherent cost that is there, especially at the front line, is to do reference checks of whoever we get into the system. And since these children are actually coming from a system wherein they're already reference checked, it becomes that much more advantageous for our progressive, retail business. Thank you so much. Let's hear it from Gautam, who's been waiting and wanting to speak something about this. Gautam, please, you're on.
Thank you, James. I think I'm privileged to be part of this group. See, I think it from let's think it from a student perspective, okay? And what have been we experienced? So for us, whenever we see that any students come in and who aspire to work in any retail or start the professional career, okay, there has been always a constant push from either from their parents or from institutes that he needs to continue focus towards the studies, okay? Even he aspired to do a part-time job, but there is enough pressure from both the sides that hope he will not sacrifice and the quality of education, which is more important to him. I think while the moment we marry this, whereas they allow you to work as part of a curriculum in any of the professional as a part of a professional program, that only just builds the confidence for any student or any well-being of those students, okay, or children, so that he can work very confidently and gain experience, and as a part of a life skills which he can bring in. Okay, we have seen enough part-timers who work with us today. Okay, and a lot of times they have huge amount of pressure. They are managing whether how to overcome the study pressure, the exams leaves, or how do they accommodate their request during with the and manage the expectations of the parents and the faculties which is there in the institutes, and at the same time work in the professional industry. But I think this apprentice program, the moment you build in and marriage the both, where they are expected to do an OJT and that will also give a credit to their professional or to their educational credits, I think that itself will give them a lot of confidence. That's one for me. Okay, so I see a huge merit, definitely. Obviously, over the period of so many retail years of experience, we have always seen that kids who are more inclined towards the education, seems to be more smarter. They're able to go up much higher in terms of the hierarchy or a growth path. Okay, definitely. So the moment we are able to capture those set of talent, I see that they growing up within the ladder of the organization much faster and much better, just because of their intellect, the kind of education system, and the kind of attitude of doing something and adding to the organization will do that brilliantly. The second aspect, what I definitely see is the merit what an organization would get. Okay, I do not see only a person who has enough experience or probably having an experience of retail store we have seen taking these kids after they're completing educations, not only taking roles within the operation itself. We have seen that basis on their qualifications and the intellect, they have taken much beyond the roles of development roles in other functions too, whether it's supply chain, whether it's merchandise, whether it's buying team, or even the HR as a function. So I definitely see it's a huge success. Something we've been done it before and we've seen a huge success. I personally feel that getting a mandate from a government, getting it accredited as a part of a curriculum, this will give it a long way. As rightly said by Shobha, right, there are many countries in the global which has been really recognized, and they've been promoting these kind of apprentice as a program or internship, which allows them to give them exposure in the industry. I think this is just a start, and I think this will only revolutionize the way we look at the talent workforce today, especially at the starting level. This will open many doors for many students who aspire and gain a lot of life skills with us. Yeah, so I see more of a great talent pool coming into these frontliners as to start with me for me.
Great to hear that. Great to hear that, because what I'm hearing is, a lot of overall optimization, I would say, in all the discussion points that have actually come out, it very clearly speaks about, this alignment will bring about a lot of goodness, be it, optimization of the wage bill. There are people who are actually asking for, the 15% I've already exhausted. Can I go beyond that? It's looking at, it's making resources work, future pipeline, with future pipeline actually being created internally. We're speaking about success stories, succession planning, which means in the business language for HR, it would be translating into lower costs way lateral hiring is concerned. You're creating inner stories. You're bringing about a performance-based culture. We're talking about lesser efforts in talent acquisition, zero cost where reference checks are concerned. The drop of a hat, you say, many a times it could be also looked upon as, I want to open a store in a particular location, and the main concern is where will I get a continuum of talent pool, and this could be the answer. So great. So yes, these are well institutionalized, ways of working in many of the evolved nations, and we know our progressive retail leaders like you all on this panel and many beyond this panel. So if there is some best practice going on in the world, we'll add a plus to it to make it better than the best, for sure. This is the kind of work that we can do, because we are a nation that actually have that edge, especially where it's in terms of being a consumer's nation, being it a huge segment that we're talking about, because in retail itself, it's so clear. Wherever there is life, retail has to exist in some form or the other, be it digital, be it phygital, be it physical. So that is definitely going to stay. And the good part about, one thing which all of us have been endlessly, from the nascent stages of our careers in retail itself, we've always been talking about, how do we bring about a lot of pride to this, career? How do we bring about a lot of, dignity, respect to the job? And with us being physically present in the higher education space, where parents are actually taking admission for their wards to shape up their careers, start seeing it physically in their environment, in their campus, that's going to be a big transition. It's almost like one of us landing up in the Changi airport or the JF Kennedy airport or a Heathrow and seeing a Goli Vada Pav stall as we are exiting from the the airport, the launch. And that will actually create, so the perception itself is that, okay, if a child from that environment can be working in a retail outlet like that, I mean, if it's good for them, it's good for us. It's as good as that. So this will bring about a lot of pride and dignity to whatever we are doing in this role. And what we are doing effectively, we are fast tracking the person's career. So a person who does not opt for this and a person who opts for it, their start point will be the same, but their end point will be different, because once they graduate, one will be a graduate who's a fresher and one will be a graduate with 3 years of experience. So that itself is fast tracking the person's career. Great, very nice discussion with all of you, and I look forward to a lot of further engagements on this. Before we sign off, a quick question, and I want all of you to contribute in this, because this is something that is going to be, one of the best takeaways that we can actually have. And I just wanted to plant an idea in terms of, what if all of us progress to a situation, in the near future, it could be as good as tomorrow, because conversations are on, discussions are on. Okay. Suppose we have to get into a situation with the higher education institutions. Now and that could be a location of choice, across the 45,000 locations that we have. What if we have to get space, actual physical space within that academic institution? Metro, mini metro, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, no problem. If we have to get space in that location for each one of you to actually set up a live store, I would like to have your reactions on that. Anyone could go first.
So, James, while that's an interesting possibility for HR at least, right? And as Mr. Rakesh said, to rename HR as a possibilities, function. So I think it's a good possibility. But one of the things is that as retailers, if you look at what we have done in the last 1.5 years, is that we have set up venue sales, we have set up pop-up stores. We have been where the customers are. And if you look at least from the brand that I represent, we are a youthful brand. So we would be very happy to set up something like that. And it will give a significant advantage in terms of your operating costs, right? Because your rentals are, saved, and your people, maybe you will get more apprentices there. So I think it would be a win-win for everybody. So we may, I can't make that decision, of course, but I'm sure that most retailers will jump for it.
Your CEO is going to hug you and kiss you, I'm sure.
As much as Alex is looking forward to getting hugged and kissed by people, I think what he's making a good point is, you need to set up stores where the customers are, right? As long as it works and there is a steady flow of customers to that location, it seems to be a very, very good deal, right? A deal that nobody will refuse. But yes, you can't just take any space and make a retail property. It doesn't work that way, as you would know. But yes, it looks like a very interesting proposition, but one will have to be careful and choosy, because you want to set up your stores and you want to invest in merchandise where there is perhaps an opportunity to sell. Because otherwise, the cost you're saving in the real estate will be washed away by the expenses you will carry because your merchandising is aging. But fantastic thought, and I think it should be possible in some locations, if not all.
So Sandeep, just to respond to that, in fact, suppose, now since you mentioned about this, so there's a choice of location. Now let me just qualify that further, especially in your case. Suppose it is HR College, Churchgate, you know the location. In fact, we've not yet inaugurated that because the founder is an alumni of HR College. Okay, and they wanted Aditya Birla to be there first.
I think then you should start a bidding for it, James.
Exactly. So the moment you have the revenue in picture, and which sounds lucrative, I think every retailer would like to jump into it.
So this is something that we'll actually try to pilot in this year itself, and I'm sure we'll have multiple success stories. So this is going to be the part 2, and this is going to be a discussion point of how we get better than the best for the MMR 2022. And we will be showcasing a lot of it during that journey, and we will be actually announcing it with the scale that we would have achieved. in the next year on the same platform. So with that, Siddharthan, you need to speak something, Shobha.
Yeah, so if you, it's a thought which I guess if we go back in time, I don't know whether it still exists. Wellinkers College in Bombay, yeah, way back in 2005 already had a store in over there. And it had a retail management course and they already tried it and the store was running really very successful. Yeah, so it's a very, very interesting thought. Yeah, while Sandeep actually mentioned that at the end of the day, one has to look at the profitability. Yeah, but the three main components of the P&L, when you look at it, it is the real estate, it's the people cost and is the energy cost. Yeah, when you go into an institute of such kind, you generally attract that kind of talent pool, which majorly for most of the retail, be it is food retail or for a lifestyle retail, yeah, especially when if it's going to be a value retail, luxury would surely have to give it a second thought, but surely a value retailing. It's a very, very good proposition. And for a size of a store which is about 800 square feet, I really don't think, and very frankly now I think with the pandemic, I think it's all taught us how we can optimize on the small area that we have. And I think with a lot of shows that we have done in societies and so on and so forth, I think we've all seen that it's really benefited a lot. So very much, yes, at the top of the mind when you would look at it, how the P&L is going to be looking like. But when you look at a sum total and you see what's the number of retail space that you're going to be getting and the kind of eyeball that you're getting from even from a brand point of view, because it's just not only you selling out over there, you're already catching your customers young at the campus, yeah, who is going to be there for you there afterwards for a life journey there afterwards. Yeah, so I guess it's a very, very good opportunity. If I would be given, I think my organization would surely be happy to jump into it and see as much as possible we grab those opportunities. That would be from our end. Thanks, James.
Great. Nice to hear that. In fact, it almost seems like, the physical store, without getting phygital, being competitive, along with the ability to offer the consumer the kind of digital pricing with the physical experience, the touch and feel. Everything could be possible. And it's all about, thinking unconventional, thinking of all the possible avenues, thinking of all the possible synergies, and getting existing resources optimized. So fantastic to hear. What about you, Shobha?
So James, of course, it's an interesting concept. I will not deny that. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of, I would say, business eyeballs gathered for this kind of a concept. But yes, on a little side, if I look at my own brand, I think it'll all depend upon maybe the college, the location, the target audience that the entire business or the brand has. So if you have to marry all those points, but I think it's a very good proposition because I think if you look at an HR college and you have a store which sells maybe apparels or something that sells accessories, of course it will boom, it will benefit. So I just think it depends also on the product category and how you are kind of going to be there in that. But of course, like Siddharthan said, from the P&L perspective, it's an extremely good thing. We do a lot of pop-ups here and there, and I'm sure these things will let you know after a period of time whether it is sustainable and it actually benefits the business or not.
Great to hear from that. In fact, it almost seems when you speak about a lot of experiences about pop-up stores, small format stores, etc., it almost gives me the feeling like, if you got 10 stores wherein you're actually paying, so those are points of sale, and those 10 stores, the consumers will walk into those 10 stores. But if you have an opportunity wherein for those 10 stores you're paying a rental, and you get an additional 10 stores where you don't have a rental, and the associated next big cost, which is your wage bill, you have people from that institute itself who are actually, the hands on deck, and that optimizes your wage bill. It's almost like having 10 additional points of sale where your merchandise is also displayed. So with your overheads coming down drastically on these 2 points, any sale is only a bonus from there. because you don't have the associated high costs with the 10 previous locations that we spoke about. So we'll walk this journey together, and I'm sure over a period of time, if we can get, it's literally getting the job into the institute. If we can get that done, it's almost like what the digital industry got the store into the house of the consumer. So we have a big opportunity to actually do that. Thank you so much. Thank each and every one of you for all your contributions. I'm sorry I had to start upside down, but I'm happy I have ended also upside down and now completely blank because of it, because that's the need of the hour. We need to look at everything upside down, all the possible synergies, all the type of partnerships, and we'll be on a swing, adding that plus to the best that happens in the world, making it better than the best for us. Thank you so much. And I see one nice smiling face of Hugo. Indirectly, he's smiling, but he's telling me, okay, James, time's up. Thank you so much, Hugo. Thanks to all my panelists. Thanks to all the listeners. It's been an exhilarating, experience sharing this, what we've done and what we're embarking upon. And we need all of your support. We'll transform the way retail is looked at in this nation and beyond. Thank you so much.